To everyone else in the weapon shop, it looks like a piece of worthless junk, a rusted stone sword that cracks upon impact. But Crest drops his last 500 coins on it anyway. He knows the crude exterior is just a shell, hiding a silver tier weapon inside. In his previous life, Crest was a top-tier warrior known as the God of Slaughter. That life ended when his own girlfriend and sworn brother ambushed him, cutting him down to steal his most valuable prize, a reality-breaking artifact called the Abyssal Ring. But the ring activated, rewinding time itself. Crest opens his eyes to find himself back in his 18-year-old body on the day of his awakening ceremony, with his decades of combat experience completely intact. Armed with the exact knowledge of how and when his betrayers will strike, Crest has no intention of merely surviving this time around. He plots to meticulously dismantle the lives of everyone who orchestrated his murder. During the awakening ceremony, the system binds him to an anomaly, Blade Saint. It is a Mythic Tier class, sitting a full tier above Legendary, granting him maximum 10-star attributes right at level 1. Knowing that revealing this kind of power will draw endless, unwanted attention, Crest immediately activates a concealment skill. He masks his terrifying aura to project the public profile of a sword channeler, a hybrid class notorious for its incredibly weak early-game performance. This diagram illustrates the massive gap between his public persona and his mathematical reality. On the left, we see the expected stats of a beginner sword channeler, represented by low, evenly split bars. But on the right, his hidden Blade Saint attributes completely shatter past the maximum limits of the graph. By burying his 10-star attributes behind the facade of a weak hybrid class, Crest sets up an invisible trap. The elite prodigies at his academy will assume he is entirely harmless, walking right into his strike zone. Crest's ex-girlfriend, Agnia, approaches him, assuming he is still the naive student she used to manipulate. He plays along, luring her alone to an isolated academy rooftop under the pretense of a private meeting. When Agnia realizes he is holding a dagger, she tries to back him down, confidently invoking the name of a powerful elite family. Cold tone, Crest simply stares at her, entirely unfazed by the threat. In a single, fluid motion, he executes a high-level assassination skill. He cuts her down instantly, leaving no room for negotiation or escape. Crest refuses to play by the established social hierarchy of the academy. He views the untouchable elites not as obstacles to be feared, but as pests to be quietly exterminated. Once inside the beginner dungeon, Crest abuses a Mythic Tier talent called All Refine. He upgrades his basic loot directly into Silver and Platinum Tier gear, securing equipment that shouldn't appear until much later in the game. The stat advantage makes him practically untouchable. He fluidly dodges elite tier monster attacks, using advanced movement skills to slip behind them and land lethal strikes, clearing entire monster waves in seconds. This diagram displays the dungeon's global tracking system. While the lower ranks fill in normally, Crest activates total concealment to scramble his own data. Even though he is securing top titles and massive experience points, he forces the leaderboard to remain oblivious to his progress. By hoarding the dungeon's resources and deleting his digital footprint, Crest breaks the normal progression loop. He operates entirely outside the system, dominating the environment like an undetected glitch. Outside the dungeon, the Academy administrators are sweating in a conference room. They stare at the blank leaderboards, see no trace of Crest in the top 500, and assume their prized student died immediately upon entry. Back inside, Crest is systematically clearing the map. He casually recruits a top-tier healer and effortlessly slaughters a squad led by the bully who wronged him in his past life. Instead of engaging in a standard melee, Crest uses mental commands to levitate his weapon. He launches his sword forward, letting it fly through the air to pin his terrified attacker without taking a single step. For the early game players trapped inside, the power disparity is absolutely terrifying. They struggle with basic sword swings, while Crest deploys endgame telekinetic strikes that bypass their defenses entirely. At the center of the dungeon by the Crimson Lake, a rival city's 10-star prodigy named Lucas is slaughtering Crest's former classmates just to farm experience points. Crest intervenes, catching Lucas's gold tier sword mid-swing. With pure physical force and a blinding burst of lightning, Crest completely shatters the pristine weapon into pieces, forcing the panicked prodigy to trigger a rare teleportation trinket to escape death. The battle is immediately interrupted by a violent shift in the environment. The water churns, and a massive, endgame level hidden boss emerges from the boiling depths to face the remaining survivors. The administrators outside are still mourning what they think is a bottom-tier failure. Inside, Crest has already turned their impossible survival test into his own personal slaughterhouse.